Hello! Today I will show you how to step up your one layer, no outline solid stamp. Stay tuned! Hi there everyone, I'm Erum Tasneem for Altenew, and today I wanted to do something a little different aside from coloring. So I'll be doodling, and don't worry, it's very easy. This is the Butterfly Kisses stamp set, a solid stamp with just an extra piece to stamp, that is the thorax, its body. This also has two sentiments, one is the main sentiment and other is the accompanying sentiment. The inks that I will be using today are Snapdragon and Sunray Die inks. For my project, I use this small piece of Crest solar white cardstock. I'll place the butterfly in my stamp positioner, and there's a reason I'm using a stamp positioner, and it is because I'll be ink shading my butterfly. I'll get to this in a bit. So first I'll use Sunray Die Ink and completely cover the stamp. Now I'll apply the Snapdragon to the outer edges. Please note as I do this. And I know there are marks on the center where I didn't want them. So I'll take my very well used stamp cloth. Please don't judge me. It is clean. I swear it is clean. This is just because I use Obsidian ink a lot and that has stained it. So I'll just gently bounce the cloth a little onto the center. I folded it to form a pointy tip so that it just removes the ink from the center. And then I'll take a blending tool and soften the edges. I usually do this with my finger. I don't usually use the blending tool, and I like the result better with my finger. I will show you that in a bit too. But I know a lot of people don't prefer to get their hands dirty, so I thought I'd share both ways, and since you already have a tool for it, so why not? And after stamping this is how it looks. If you want, you can stamp over it again. I won't do it as I'm happy with how it looks. Now I'll stamp the second butterfly using the Sunray Die ink. By the way, this is totally up to you if you want the shading on the edges or at the center. I'll stamp the layer again to get a darker color so that it's a bit different than the first butterfly. Again, I'm going to apply the ink onto the edges. By the way, this would have worked better if you have mini ink cubes. I don't have them, so I'm using the oval inks. I prefer the oval inks because I usually ink blend a lot more than I stamp. So oval ink pads are better for me. Okay, and now I'll use my finger and just soften the ink a bit and see how subtle the shading transition is. I can do this one more time. Like, it's so subtle that I can add another layer of ink onto this. And this time I'll apply the Snapdragon onto the extreme edges. And here you go. Look at the result. Both the butterflies have different looks and they both look beautiful. I like my finger blended butterfly better, but that's just me. Which one do you prefer? Now what I'm going to do is, do you have your fine liner pen set by Altenew? I think I will go with 001 and just doodle an outline around the butterfly. I'm not even being careful as I'm doing this. I'm just following the line, but not being too careful. You don't even have to follow the outline of the butterfly to the T. Just add the outline as your hand flows, and your eye will follow the design. This is just to add something extra to your stamp. I'll just fast forward this because I'll show you how I will do both butterflies. But if you want to really watch it and watch me doodle slowly, so what you can do is you go to settings and reduce the speed, and you'll be able to see how I doodle. And just look at it, how different it has already started to look. And this is just the outline around the outline on the butterfly and those little circular things. And I think I will do the other one slightly differently. Now I'll stamp the body or the thorax of the butterfly in Obsidian ink. And after doing this, I thought, let's just add a few more dots or something. And believe me, they made such a difference. In fact, don't believe me, just look at this. I mean, the butterflies are right in front of you. How beautiful do these butterflies look? This is not the only thing that you can do with it. I just added the dots. What you can do is you can even add lines like the monarch has. You can add more bigger circular designs, the white gel pen detail. There's so many things that you can do if you really sit and brainstorm for a bit. I have not done that, but I think if I just sit and brainstorm for a second, I will come up with a lot of ideas. But I do have a lot of other work to do, so I can't do that right now. Okay, I'm going to fussy cut these and be right back. My butterflies are fussy cut and I'll set them aside. I don't have the Altenew circle dies, those half-tone circle dies, that is. So I'll use a compass to draw my circle on Woodgrain Powder Cardstock. And here I'm just showing you the texture of the Woodgrain Powder Cardstock. I'll do this all the time, you know, because this is my most favorite cardstock. It's very close to the spicy yogurt cardstock. They're both of my very, very favorite cardstocks. And pale grey. Yes, that too. Okay, so you can see I made this on the extreme edge because I'm out of this amazingly gorgeous cardstock and I'm saving even the teeniest bit. Now what I'll do is that I'll apply Espresso Dye Ink on this circle. I'll just apply the ink directly from the ink pad and it will turn into this gorgeous grungy wood grain pattern. You can even use this as is if you want to, or do what I'll do. I will use an ink blending tool and then start blending that ink into the crevices. There's already ink on the ridges of the wood grain pattern, so you don't have to apply too much ink onto the blending tool. I'll go over the edges of a circular shape again with the ink pad directly so that the edges are darker than the center. Just remember to go over the edges in a circular motion so that you get lesser of those marks from the edges of the cube. Then take the blending tool again, but this time only blend the ink pad lines that are in the center. Don't touch the edges, don't ink blend the edges, let the edges be dark and just go over the center of the circle as softly as you can. Now, as soon as you are done, go over the shape with a heat tool so that the ink sets. Because it's not as sturdy, I'll layer this up on a spare piece of cardstock. And since I'm using a white cardstock, I'll make sure the white doesn't show. For that, either you cut the white circle a tad smaller than the brown one, or I'll use the blending tool and use the leftover ink on the palette and apply it on the white circle. And I will also use the ink pad to cover the edges by running them onto the ink pad or vice versa. On cream colored cardstock, this is going to be my card front. I'll apply the leftover ink as lightly as I can because this is the darkest espresso ink, so I'll be very gentle. Now I'll add black paint splatters onto my card front. Then adhere the circular element with foam tape. And just before doing, I almost adhered this onto the front panel, but then realized that I had to distress the edges with the dim hole scissor that I love to do, the distressing of edges, I mean. And you have watched me do this several times before too. If you want to skip this step, please go ahead and skip it. But I love to do this, so I will definitely add this. After adhering, I'm going to cut off the overhanging circle, then place my butterfly to see where my sentiment would go. At this point, I felt as if I was missing something, so I die cut the Burlap Textured Die and I ink it up a bit to match the cardstock a little bit, and then I cut it a lot. I altered it a lot because I just need tiny pieces peeking from behind the circle. And then I adhered it behind my circle with the Altenew glue tape because I wasn't sure if I need to stick this permanently or if I wanted to just take it off. So I just used that tape and did not press it very firmly. And I'll add some on the other corner as well and on the right edge just to complement the design and balance it a little bit. These things come to me from my mixed media work. I used to tuck and trim a lot of dies like this. I'll stamp the sentiments in Obsidian ink, pop it with foam tape, pop over the other butterfly, adhere the satin gold sequins, and my card is ready. I hope you will try to add easy outlines and doodling to your solid stamps. If you do, please don't forget to tag Altenew at Altenew LLC and me at Glitter and Swirls. Thank you for watching, everyone. Bye.